Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. It's time is 7:01. I want to note for the record that Nicole is excused from the meeting tonight, but we still have a quorum, so we're in good shape. And this is our last board meeting for 2024. With that, I will ask if everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda and if there are any questions. None, I will move on to welcome our new trustee to be, Kayla. She'll be joining us officially in January, so thanks for coming, Kayla. Next up is approval. I'm sorry, public comment. There is no public here, so. Technically true. Well, there is. Kayla, do you have any comments? Okay, all right. Hearing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. And
the minutes are, I think they're in good shape. Like, I think they actively reflect what happened, especially with that executive session kerfuffle that happened at the end. Yes. Oh yeah, Cammie, you missed that. Yeah. I'm trying to find it so I can. We entered and then left.
Yes,
and then we came back and we left again. I don't remember why.
It's because we forgot to vote on the motion to go into executive.
That's right. Yeah, we just forgot to vote for the motion, so.
I forgot to.
We all forgot.
Yes, yes, so we then went back in. So that's why it was strange.
But that was the only oddball thing in there, so if anybody has any questions about the rest of it, no.
There are a couple edits. The staff had reviewed the things Jenna regarding the local author event.
Oh yeah, I remember
right?
that. It was like the numbers weren't quite.
Yes.
Right.
So that should be changed. We're on page 4 of the packet under incidents and other updates. Our first local author event featured 30 authors and more than 80 attendees. So that's it. I believe that was, yes.
That was another thing I remember.
Yeah.
Brought up. So it was just, I mean, technically those numbers aren't wrong. They're just
Not approximates, yeah.
Yeah, they're not quite as efficient as we'd like them to be.
Yes, yes.
And don't accurately reflect the event itself.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Amanda? You have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 19th, 2024 Library Board meeting as edited. Charlie? Second, Amanda. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Everyone? No one opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I got
you.
you.
Next, we'll move on to the treasurer's reports. Katie.
So Jill sent the information a little differently and like a little, she kind of did a bit of a report, so I included it the way that she presented it and then just added in the amounts that were over $1,000 for the off warrant and the warrant. So this gives a little more information in terms of like, how are we overall versus just how did we do this past month? So I did like that. Is that how you want to do it moving forward?
However, sure.
Okay.
Since we're at towards the end of the year at least.
So it gives you a little more comprehensive information. So the off warrant and warrant, I don't think there were any unusual expenditures. All companies we're used to working with at this point. Did anyone have any questions about anything in the report or in each breakdown?
I just have, if it's a reminder, when does the transfer go to reserves next year? I don't remember.
So we already did the transfer that's budgeted to
Okay,
reserves. So then at the end of this year, we'll decide with our leftovers. In January, we'll decide, do we have any additional transfers that we need to make? In January, we will also make the transfers in the January, in the 2025 budget. Anything that's budgeted, you make then.
okay, thank you. That's what
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
We're in good shape financially as we finish out the year. Again, just to highlight, the additional interest has been fantastic this year because of the movement of the money into a higher yield interest-bearing account. That's been really helpful, and actually I'll speak a little bit about that when we go over the admin minutes, because that's helping us to close some of the gaps due to the SCODAC anticipation. So if there are no questions, we have a few motions. Motion to accept the off warrant in the amount of $112,614.52 for the period of November 9th, 2024 through December 6th, 2024, as presented. Anyone would like?
Second?
Second.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, yeah, jeez.
I
feel like we've been doing this for a year,
Don't pull apart on us now. All those in favor?
That's 5, none opposed, so the motion passes.
And then we also have a motion to authorize the president to sign the warrant for the period of November 9th, 2024 through December 6th, 2024 in the amount of $40,016.70.
Questions? All those in favor? Everyone, so 5 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes.
And finally, a motion to approve the December 6th, 2024 financials with 93.2% of the year completed as presented.
Amy, second. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor? It's 5 in favor, none opposed, motion passes. Rolling right into the committee reports, administrative.
Okay, so our primary focus was to discuss how we plan to restructure the budget and adjust it according to the funding that we're expecting from SCODAC. So we still do not have a check or a definite amount, but we have an idea from the meetings that we've been in. So Jill presented 3 different budgets or options, I guess, and we all were in favor of option 3, Jill and the committee. So the reason that we liked this option was because the expenditures remain the same, and then the adjusted interest, because of the high yield interest account that we transferred the money into, and the remainder of the deficit will be covered. Or so the interest is helping us to cover the deficit as well as other overages from our budget in 2024 to help close the 2025 budget. And our goal was really to remain as close as possible to that original budget and make sure that we were staying true to what we promised to the public. And we felt that this budget honored the original one and was the closest. So that was our recommendation. But we're ready for 2025, but in terms of sustainability, we want to make some moves to just keep finding out information and looking for other possibilities to sustain our budget over time with or without Skodak's contribution, so that we are able to do the things that we do and do them well like we do now. So one of the ideas was looking into a financial contractor and see like, almost like what we did for the, what is it called, the strategic plan, thank you. Almost like what we did for the strategic plan, but just in a financial sense, so that we could see like, I don't know, are there grants, are there ways that we can accrue money that would allow us to have a little bit more flexibility and freedom. So that was one possibility. And then we also talked briefly about the New York Liquid Asset Fund for an increased interest option moving forward, but at this point, there just wasn't enough information. So Jill is planning to research that, and that's a possibility, like an even higher yield interest, but what does that mean? Like, can we touch the money? Do we have to wait a certain amount of time? How is it tied up? Is it a high risk? And so Jill is gonna research that as another option for some more long-term sustainability, due to the lack of confidence in the exact amount from Skodak. So it would hopefully give us a little more independence. So does anyone have any questions about that? This is obviously a really important item that we worked on, so if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
You guys are all looking at me,
Oh,
no, I
I
haven't,
know,
I
you
just heard
guys
you
are
go.
the only ones that
We're in the meeting.
That's true
why,
too.
but-
Do we have someone who looks actively for grants on staff? Like, do we have I know some libraries have a grants librarian.
We don't have one person that's specified.
I'll
It's
just, like,
whoever has time in their regular responsibilities.
okay.
Something comes up.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I know that some libraries do keep a person like that on staff. I didn't know if we had something like that in-house before we go. Obviously, you wouldn't be looking to do a consultancy if we had it in-house, but that was just.
I think Upper Hudson might be a good resource for that as well. And your involvement with the Directors Association, like maybe hearing about grants that other sized libraries might be trying to take advantage of, or, I mean, so that Upper Hudson could be a good place to start, but, I'm sure that's full-time job. Looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we're very
anything
familiar with the
pockets.
library grants.
Mhm.
It's the relationship building that it would take to move outside the library community. Because applying for a grant is not, yes, it takes a lot of time and effort to build and sustain those relationships to actually receive those grants. I mean, we're getting small grants, but the real grants that would make a difference, big grants would take a lot more capacity.
That financial consultant will do for us, or is this just somebody who's gonna forecast like what we're looking at?
I don't think we know anything at this
Yeah.
point. We were just batting around ideas so that it seems like we have the same conversation every year, the same lack of confidence in how we're going to move forward and all the what ifs, and we just wanna start to be a little more proactive so that we don't have to keep having this conversation every year. So at this point, we were just added like maybe this, maybe that, and just kind of batting around ideas, but I don't think anything's really a sure thing or been researched or budgeted or anything. It's just an idea.
And also it was kind of multi-pronged, so financial consultant might be able to, a library might be able to tell us what funds that we have, what we could invest in that would be, safe for the library, and if we can invest.
Right.
Those funds. And then on the other, another capacity would be having, doing grants, which so that wouldn't necessarily be the financial consultant.
Right.
Um,
Sort of a grant writer is different than the financial planner / paid treasurer.
And one of the relationships that we had started building was with the county, and I believe at the time when we had met with Kelly, yeah, they have someone that does write grants, and it's possible that we could services or requests to utilize their services, and I'm guessing the county does a lot of writing. So, and like you were saying, to go outside of the library is, what library grants are available, but maybe that would be a good option for us.
Right, and we don't know the financial impact either. I mean, obviously, the goal would be that person would help us take in a substantial amount of money that would more than cover what we're paying that person to do. But we don't know. It could cost $1,000, it could cost $15,000. We don't know, and we don't know like what the engagement would look like, or would it be like a one and done, would it be a long term? So there's a lot of work to be done. But I just think this is something that we all agree needs to become a priority. Like, we have a lot of conversations every year, what if, and I think it's been enough of that, and it's time to really get serious and find the answers to the what if, and hopefully that can be like a legacy that we leave, that because I feel like, not like anything is a sure thing, but once we kind of figure it out, not that there's a magic bullet per se, but once we figure it out, if it's a grant or if it's I don't know, an investment, it's something we can do over and over again. Like these high yield interest accounts that we now have the money in, I don't see any reason why we would ever look back. Like now that's gonna become a part of our budget that we can depend upon. And ideally, whatever solutions we or the consultant or the county or whomever comes up with, that would ideally be something that's kind of serves that same purpose. Like, okay, now this is gonna be a $70,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 that we can consistently look to accrue over time once we figure out what that source is. So
I figured this might be the time to throw in that I've written grants before.
Great.
And there's a Hudson Valley continuing education course. It's like for just regular people. It's like $115 and it's grant writing. So it talks a lot about grants.
Awesome. Thank you.
So there is a motion. Do you want me to finish the full report, or do you want to do the motion regarding the budget, since we've just had a discussion?
Well, we do have a couple motions. Well, why don't we do the motion then?
Do the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so the committee moves to amend the 2025 voter approved budget to account for the deficit accrued as a result of anticipated SCODAC contribution.
So just, we amended, or we changed the motion a little bit. We're going with the one that's on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
always forget to look back. I'm
That's okay.
just going sequentially.
That's okay. Do you want me
You
to?
read it
I'll
so I
read
can
it so you
keep
can
my
say
place?
yes.
Yeah.
So, we'd like a motion the committee puts forth a motion to adjust the 2025 voter approved budget to account for the anticipated deficit in the SCODAC Library Services contract contribution. So we would need a second. Okay, Cammie is second. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? That's 5 in favor, so none opposed. The motion passes. Thanks.
Okay. Our next order of business was the health insurance buyout. And, right now, we don't have to make a final decision. We just have to make the final decision by the open enrollment period, which is July. So we do still have time. And if we do end up recommending it and the board approves this recommendation, then we'll add it to the staff manual at the time that approval. We didn't want to hold up the publication of the staff manual, so that will be accounted for when and if it's necessary. And we are going to defer it to the future admin committee, which will meet in February. But we had substantial discussion, and it seems like we would be okay to implement it in this next budget. So whatever the committee decides is up to the admin committee that meets in January or moving forward. But we just didn't, I think we just didn't see it all the way through, and we wanted to kind of let the next committee make that final decision. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, and then we have an attached fee schedule. We will have a motion for that. And then finally, the New York State Paid Family Leave Act. We're also deferring to the next committee because again, we had some discussion, but it wasn't really, we didn't get far enough along to make that decision. So we just felt like we're going to let the next committee make the final recommendation. But Jill does recommend it. Typically we line up, it's built into the health insurance budget, so there could be more discussion surrounding that, but the next committee can make that final decision.
I think Jill was also going to get better figures for the next group to look at.
So I guess we just have the motion to approve the fee schedule.
We get a chance to look at that. So it's the 2025, so motion to approve the 2025 fee schedule as presented. So the committee made the motion. Can we have a second? Charlie, second. Any questions or discussion on the fee schedule? Okay. So we'll take a vote then. All those in favor? 5 in favor, means none are opposed, so the motion passes. Okay. Next up is services.
So last month, we talked a little bit about the code of conduct. This time it is ready for you guys to approve, and it is listed in the packet, so I hope you had a chance to review it. If you have any questions, happy to answer. No, I think Cammy's probably done more.
I looked at it, you know, in the board packet.
One of the things I wanted to mention, which I think it was, we had brought it up and Jill agreed that it would be a good idea, was under the code of conduct policy, the proposed policy, there's a set of general expectations. And so Jill is going to post that in the library and also do it in multiple languages. Considering that there were multiple languages identified during our strategic planning, so I thought that was pretty good idea.
Janae actually posted something listing all the languages in Janae that are spoken in by children at Janae because they have the sealed by literacy program. And there was, and the ones that we know of, there were, I think, 17 different languages, or maybe 30. It was a really high number. I
Wow.
thought that was really, not saying we have to do
Impressive, yeah.
all of these, but it's something to keep in mind that our language pool is expanding beyond those 4 languages, but I literally just saw that today. So.
Yeah.
Cool. And Janae being one of the 2 schools that is literally inside East Greenbush is good information for us to have as well.
Yeah,
So I can send that around.
That's where the ELL programs reside.
We're trying to move it to Red Mill as well, that Red Mill's starting with kindergarten and going up from there. But Janae has all of them. If they come in at like 2nd grade, they'll start at Janae, whereas anybody who comes in kindergarten will start at Red Mill. And then as Red Mill gets those kids aged up, they'll start, depending on where they live, they'll go to Red Mill or Janae.
It's incredible how many languages there are here.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on the code of conduct or going to replace?
Do we like it? Do we think it's cool? I think we did a really good job with this one. I really like it. I like the chart. I think it's easy to follow. It makes the most sense and it's still equitable. It still fits all, it hits all the strategic planning that we did, all the points of that. And I think we should be proud of this one. Not that we're not proud of everything else, but I like that.
Somebody
It's not an easy policy.
Yeah, right. Somebody next to me should get a lot of credit on
There's
that too.
there's a lot in this, and you know, you have to enforce these consequences, and it's not. You wanna have a document that can back you up, and I feel like this does.
It's really useful for staff, I think.
Yeah, that's some good input from staff too.
Yeah.
They gave a lot of good feedback, which is good. So the committee makes the motion to approve the code of conduct policy as presented, which will replace the current disruptive behavior and rules of conduct policies.
We have a second. Charlie? Any further discussion or questions?
I like that there are examples, but I like that it's not limited. Like, I like that it's not, these are the infractions, because then it's like, well, I invented this new way to be unsafe, and it's not on your list. So I like that we didn't close it off. I like that it's examples of prohibited behaviors. It's not, these are the ways that you can violate the policy. It's, these are examples. And it doesn't even say like, or anything else, because it's just examples. It's not an exhaustive list.
Right.
And we know that, we're declaring that by saying it's examples. So I think that's smart.
Yeah, very, very.
As usual, we're still digging through that staff manual.
Let's take a vote on this.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
see, I'm skipping the vote this time. Okay, shame on me.
All those in favor? That's 5 in favor, none opposed, so the motion passes.
We're still working through the staff manual, making sure nothing is conflicting with any other part of the manual. That's the current focus. Obviously, a lot of this is going to end up in whoever's on the next services committee's bucket. So, be prepared, but it is a worthy and worthwhile endeavor because this thing is a beast but it is a necessary beast. And we need to make sure that it's good for the staff that we love so much.
And it hasn't been updated since 2010. So
Which is another reason why
Why
it
it's
is
so big.
so big. And it's not its fault and it's not our fault. It's
hopefully we can just update it every year in minor ways.
like the idea is we should be able to just add in an NYS paid leave app section, just easy peasy, done. But right now we're going through everything and making sure it's up to date and doesn't like obviously conflict with something else.
And it's probably worth mentioning too that you had an your HR person that does your.
Yeah, we had our, we actually had our benefits provider go in and look at everything, and they said it was ready to go, but they did not look at it for duplication. So now that's what we're going through, is looking at it for duplication to make sure we like the organization and that is, but in terms of it being, you know, having everything required federally and statewide and it being appropriate, they gave it an approval.
That's the important bits right there.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
We also discussed committee meetings and times and dates, like right now, they're Monday, the first Monday of each month, 5:30 and 7. Are they flexible and adjustable? Yeah, absolutely. Once we assign the committees in January, then we can adjust them as needed. You guys have done it for me before, so we didn't see any problem with that. I mean, it does not have to be the same date and time, just that's the way it has been, so. We're also looking to next year, we're gonna be reviewing the meeting room policy. And lots of policy reviews upcoming. And there is a document that some of you have filled out on Teams that you need to fill out. It's the Massachusetts BLC,
Board of Library Commissioners.
that's it, board matrix that's stored in Teams. It's a helpful document that gives us our demographics of our current board. So we know what we have, what we are missing, and it'll give us an idea of where to go with recruitment. So make sure you fill that out ASAP, please.
Well, what I can do is, because that's in the services channel, I can make I'll copy the link and put it in the general channel, just so it's front and center, what, you know,
Whichever thing you need to fill out.
The purpose of it is to help us identify what strengths each of our board members have and what kind of networking and that. So Kayla, when you come on board in January, you will also have an opportunity to fill out the matrix. And yeah, we're going to use it to inform our recruitment, which is also going to be front and center for board members.
Versions. Yeah, that's the only motion I have.
Okay. All right.
No problem.
Okay, so the nominating committees, our chairperson was unable to make it tonight, so I'm her. We met, Tammy, myself, and Nicole, and we discussed the board positions and also our succession planning and how much time each person has left on the board. And batted around a number of ideas. We came up with a slate. And as you'll see, we are presenting slate of officers for 2025. President Charlie Pennsylvania, Vice President Katie Sheehan, Secretary Cami Engel, and Treasurer Nicole Crescendo. And all of the candidates were asked to make sure before we put the slate out officially to make sure that they would be able to take on those roles, and we agreed. So seeing that, I ask for a motion to approve the slate. Well, does anybody have questions or comments?
when do we appoint the committee chairs?
In January, so the
We
new
announce the
president,
committees, okay, the new
president will identify the committee and the chair. If we
Okay.
go that route, we have some things to talk about with, how we're gonna do chairs or rotating chairpersons. The three of us could have the discussion, but there's some options that we'll talk about at the.
We talked about it at the review.
Yeah,
Director review.
Yeah, okay. So it's just the three of us, but at any rate, yeah, however the committees are gonna play out, that'll be, the president will do that in January. Any other questions?
And that's determined via our bylaws, that the president determines what the committee structure looks like.
So if there's no other questions, I'll present the motion to approve the slate of officers for calendar year 2025 as presented. Can I have a second? Amanda? All those in favor? Everyone, or 5 in favor, none opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations to the incoming officers. Thank you.
And congratulations to you.
Thank you. All right, so moving on, we have the director's report.
I'm gonna provide a brief update on what some library activities according to our strategic plan and progress. And also I wanna talk to you about some really interesting trends in our lending. This was just sent over to me from Albert Hudson. I'll talk about that in a little bit. In November, we saw a 9% increase in our library visits, totaling nearly 21,000. We are seeing strong community engagement, and our programs have grown by 13%, reflecting our continued focus on really providing valuable experiences through programming for everybody. Looking at our lending statistics, there's been a real notable shift in how our patrons are accessing materials. What this does is this spreadsheet provides a comparison among all 29 libraries in the Brunson library system, pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. So it's not this year, but I would, once this year is finished, I'd love to update this with this year's data. And I'd really like to go into programming as well with some of this information, because I think it's a unique comparison. So we're comparing ourselves pre and post pandemic, and then we're comparing ourselves to other libraries, which is interesting to me. And we really haven't been doing that. So prior to the pandemic, only about 10% of our total lending was through digital platforms, Libby and Hoopla. Now, this does not include databases, which typically when we put together our statistics, we include our database use as well. So that percentage is even higher than that for us, because our database, we have significant databases, more than other libraries. But for an apples to apples comparison, this is all the shared collections among 29 libraries. So post-pandemic, that digital lending through Libby and Hoopla has increased to 19% of our total collection. So not surprising, digital lending is increasing significantly. That took off absolutely during the pandemic. We have always had, well, at least for the last several years, we've had the highest sort of per capita for physical materials. So that's interesting that digital lending is increasing significantly, because we were sort of lagging in that digital trend pre-pandemic. So our total digital lending has grown by 40.49%, our total digital lending. In comparison, the average decreases in physical lending among all libraries is 13.77%, and our decrease in physical lending was just slightly higher, 15.73%. So, again, the shift to digital is, it's a part of a larger trend among all the libraries. Our digital lending is fairly on target with where the other libraries are. We are still not even close to where we were pre-pandemic with circulation, with lending. Now, when we add in the database usage, we are, but if we're just looking at what people are reading, physical or digital, or listening to, physical or digital, we have decreased 7.04%. Part of this, I know, is through CD and DVD usage. We have a huge, now our DVD collection is still very strong. It's still our second highest circulating collection in the library, but it has decreased significantly. and I think part of that is streaming and also the internet in like the far reaching areas of East Greenbush and Rensselaer County. We didn't have it in every area, and it's getting better. So I think part of it is people are getting better access to the internet. And so we're seeing that trend to move towards streaming catch up to where other places were. So our DVD usage, while it's still really high, is dropping fairly significantly. And of course, we moved all of our CDs collection to streaming services as well. So that's interesting.
Operationally, we have made several updates or sort of progress towards our strategic plan. This past month, we've been working with organizations like the Capital Region Workforce Development Board. And we're introducing new resources like the language. We have a new language support tool which helps
Translate in-person interactions with patrons. You can dial a phone number and the patron can talk to that phone number, and you know, we could hear it in English. They will translate it for us so we can go back and forth. But we have also found that staff have already been using Google Translate on their own phones. So what we're going to do, because that's just, it's faster, it's not as precise, but for the types of things that people are asking, you know, if someone was asking about very specific health information they're trying to research, then we would definitely use the language line for that. But if you're just trying to figure out, you know, can I use a computer, or can you show me how to print something, you know, how do I use Overdrive, like what is you know, can I get a library card, which is typically, those are the basic questions that we're getting with our non-English speaking community right now. So that is better served with Google Translate. So what we're planning to do in 2025 is distribute iPads to all the service points with Google Translate on it, so people don't have to use their personal cell phones, which is
So do you think it's every day that the staff encounters someone who doesn't speak English, or, I mean, how often does the staff, how often is that encounter?
So I would say, yes, every day we encounter folks who are not speaking English, but the majority of them are bringing another person with them to help navigate. So it's not super often that they're coming without somebody else, but it's nice to be able to communicate. And we have old iPads too, so that we can just, you know.
Would you ever chart the languages, like in a month, like what are, like who's coming here that doesn't speak English, and what is the language, just as to see, like, oh, it's more this, or it's more that, and maybe.
Yeah, like we used to use the language line at Harding Mazzotti, and I'm sure they still do, but like we would keep track of which languages we used when we call up to ask. Like I assume it's a similar service. They call and say, I need a Mandarin Chinese speaker.
Kevin Peck uses that in court, but people will come and talk in a different language, and they're immediately, you know, if they have to call a certain number, and then that
So
person is the language.
what is the end goal of tracking that kind of stuff?
Just to see who's walking through the doors that doesn't speak English, and maybe
If it's
seeing
not
like
one of the top
what the
languages.
need is, that like how can we help and make it easier, or I don't know, you just
Maybe
like different
Signage or like.
I think it'd be interesting to, if we could, it's one more data point, it'd be interesting to kind of track based on the languages in the school district. And are we seeing a wide breadth of languages? Library, it would just be interesting data for us for planning strategically. I'll have to kind of look into that and see how we might do that. No,
You could put E&L resources in those languages, like we have classes for ESL here at the library, but you put it in Chinese and you say,
yeah,
like that could, like, or if you know there's like a bunch of Russian speakers, which wasn't in our top
Right.
5,
But
then
all of a sudden,
turn up
you're
a
seeing
but they're
thing.
coming in
uptick.
here, then maybe
Right.
that's the place we need to translate things. So, yeah, I'm gonna bring that to our.
Maybe like a tally
Maybe
sheet.
we're talking.
Yeah, type of thing.
Well, I'm not gonna say yes, we're gonna, but we're definitely gonna discuss it. We have some priorities for our languages and cultures that, you know, diverse languages and cultures in the community, and I wanna bring this up as one possible way to measure our effectiveness. So we're gonna kind of talk about the pros and cons of that. I mean, it's easy if someone is calling language line to determine the language, but if someone is just coming up to you and you're speaking to someone else. I wanna talk to our frontline staff about that to see, make sure we're not being intrusive, but we're also serving the community. But I think that's a great suggestion for us to really consider. Thank you.
I emailed that PowerPoint that they're doing at the board meeting tomorrow night with those languages for Janae, so you guys all have a copy in your email.
Thank you. We had a really neat, I'm just gonna highlight one program that we had last month. We had a Lego printmaking workshop. And if you're not familiar with Lego printmaking, as I was not, I had no idea what that meant. It's taking, I thought this was the neatest program because it's not just art. It's not just hands-on building, like it's all of it. It's STEM, it's art, it's manipulate, you know, hands-on learning how to like manipulate small pieces. It's taking flat Lego pieces and the Lego pieces that have, you know, the little symbols on them. And first you draw on a piece of paper what you want the image to be, and then you translate that into Legos. And so you put the Legos together on a board, and then you cover it with something flat like a book or something else with some ink, and you create a print. So it's really a really impressive program that's really hitting on a lot of, you know, kind of the educational target areas. So I thought that was a really, really impressive program that the children did.
We, as an aside, we were in Barnes and Noble this weekend and they have Legos for adults. So they were Porsche, just like, I don't even remember,
Eiffel
but they
Tower.
yes, like things like that, like
Hundreds of dollars.
hundreds of dollars, but like really cool, like to, yeah, instead of like the family's gonna, you know, do the puzzle on the dining room table, now they're like doing this. It was.
That's
it
my
was
house on the
really-
weekend, not gonna lie to you.
The
They
puzzles or
literally,
Legos
the
or both?
Legos, they went and bought, we went and bought more Legos, and they're the adult ones, and we spent all weekend building them.
Really interesting to see
Yeah.
this, like they're huge.
Yeah.
Anyway. Little gift idea.
Yeah. And then there's minor things that we're doing that I think actually make a huge impact as we're talking about being more interactive, having more interactive spaces in the library, creating nooks and spaces. Little things like, okay, we put together our light table recently in the children's room. Well, now recently, this past month, they put together just a folding table that they've covered in craft paper. And about every week or so, they replenish the craft paper with markers and different things. So kids, you know, just have something to do in addition to all the other, you know, there's toys in the playroom, there's that, there's all the books, you know, there's things to do in all different nooks of the kids' room. So I like how intentional they're being with trying to meet everybody's needs or where they're at, because not everybody can be in a furry zone. So I like that. I think that's really great and fitting right in with our strategic plan. So really early 2025, and right now we're prioritizing working, doing our planning for local economic development advancing local economic development. Entrepreneurship, we're working hard on that right now, putting a lot of advanced planning into getting that going. We do have coming up program in partnership with the Tech Center for Gravity, coming up the Makerspace program, and we're also doing an AI workshop for small businesses. So that's great. Our construction project, as Charlie knows, I did put something in my board, in my director's report, of just if you want to know the nitty-gritty about the construction project, that's, well, I wouldn't say nitty-gritty, but it's an overview of, it's a status update, but essentially it's, we're on budget. You know, that's our priority, is to remain on budget and to stick with our priority, which is replacing the ethos, which has happened in the spring. We have, you know, there are some decisions we have to make about the windows as we're getting more information about that. You know, how many of the windows we'll be able to do, you know, but we're prioritizing the ethos. That building exterior was our priority in this project from the get-go, so that's still going to remain our priority. And some of the windows may have to be done in coordination with the roof, depending on how things are coming in. More some of the pricing is coming in differently now than originally anticipated. So,
and that could go up too with, you know, number.
yeah. So we're still working on that.
Yeah.
But all in all, I would say the project is running smoothly. We did get our first. It's not in the balance sheet right now, but it is in the, if you go on the Teams page about the construction update, we did get our first check, the 90% check, so that has been deposited. And that is deposited into the non-restricted capital reserve because it is a, we already transferred the money from the non-restricted funds to the capital reserve for the project, for all of the contracts.
So it's replenishing.
It's replenishing, thank you for, that is exactly the word I was thinking of. It's replenishing. Yeah. And so if you look at the balance sheet, it really is a reflection of kind of where we are with the construction project, because we make transfers for all of the contracts, and also like the EFIS number is in there, and the Windows budget originally that we were working with, the 172 is in there. So the entire project is in there right now. So it's a pretty good indicator of where we are with that project, but you can see that in the spreadsheet on Teams.
So when they say spring, is there a date, or it's basically weather kind of, is it weather related, or do they commit to starting it by a certain point in time?
I think they're.
Yeah. Because so it wouldn't be a thing where, oh no, we have conflicting jobs going on.
No, they already know that we are priority for spring.
Okay.
The contractors have agreed to hold, the EFIS contractors have agreed to hold everything as is till the spring.
Was it, they have to wait till it's a certain temperature or something to do it? Is that?
I think there's like a best time. I think it's like
Yeah.
a positive, like above X.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Okay.
Were there any questions that you would like answered from the report?
I like the format, I like the high level.
Thank you, it's based on
Thank
your
you.
feedback.
Well. Good. You have personal memorandum.
Yes, there is a personnel memorandum. So in terms of staffing right now, we have these were the positions we discussed last month. We have the part-time position has been filled with Charlie Stevenson, who began on December 4th, and then Catherine Lyons, full-time, and that she began on December 2nd. We do have a part-time, youth and family services librarian position that's open right now. I believe that position has been offered, it was supposed to be offered today. So, we're getting close to filling that, it'll probably be filled by the time. Hopefully it'll be filled by next meeting, and the person will start, so then we'll be fully staffed, assuming that, you know, the person accepts and we can go through that process, so.
First, in a long, long time, right? It's great. Yes. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Jill on the personnel report? I have a motion to approve the December 16th, 2024 personnel memorandum as presented. Charlie, Katie second. All those in favor? 5 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so, as you probably noticed, we don't have any of our liaisons here this evening, but we do have from our friends of the library. Oh, well, I'm sorry. We do have, I'm sorry, UHLS is here, sorry. I just think of you as a friend. All right. So, Julianne sent the Friends update for us. So I will share with you what their highlights. The Friends Holiday Market raised over $700, and they're still open. That was, and their goal was $500. It's like, I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at the ornaments and the trees. Very interesting. Very clever. Yeah. And they had the bundled book, so that's really good. Exceeds their goal. They have all their board positions filled for the first time since the pandemic, which is pretty impressive because they have quite a few positions there. They identified their 2025 goals as being, they want to grow their overall membership, which is a pretty standard goal for the Friends. They want to explore new fundraising strategies, recognizing that book sales are starting to dwindle. Even though they'll keep they're keeping what they're doing. Just want new strategies. And they also are looking to create succession plans and identify tools how to do that. They have somebody assigned to that. And at the last meeting, which Jill and I were there, I mentioned to them that our board is looking to do that as well. And they were willing to, or interested in maybe partnering because talking about like having a trustee and a friend member be at an event, you know, kind of recruit or explain what the difference is between Friends and the board. And so that might be an option, and maybe that could maybe be the services committee. I'm not positive, but one of the committees. So, and then in January, they have a meeting and that's their operational meeting. It'll be, and they're going to do a brainstorming session with 2 topic groups, fundraising and advocacy awareness. So, and certainly everyone's welcome to go to their meetings, if they're friends or not. And thanks to Julianne for sharing this so we could update our board this evening.
Do you have a list of their board members?
Should be on the
It's
website.
probably, yeah. Well, so they have it so that half of their officers are elected. They're not all done at the same time. So I do know Julianne is still the president. I believe is Shay Harrison, the vice president. Who you remember Shay from one of the Betty Polina Jr. is on our board and she's taking on a role as well.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Diana Valenches.
Yeah, Diana Valenches, Diana Vance.
I don't know if you.
They have a lot of, because what they do is they have like co-chairpersons for a number of their committees, which is very smart idea because it helps with their succession planning too, so.
Right.
Motion to accept the endorse leave.
Yeah.
Say what the state
I
is.
can, I mean, I
We
have
can
it
find
at
out.
home, I can, because they handed out the slate.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
It says board members, I just.
All right,
That's fine, I'll
I
take
can
it.
find it, thank you.
Okay.
Just, I don't know if you want that for the minutes, like to spell out everyone or.
No,
No, it
I
doesn't
don't
have
think,
to.
yeah,
No,
no, I
just-
don't, yeah, I don't
that's
think
fine.
we need to have that.
I think it's up.
Yeah.
I think it's actually up.
Right.
Julian, President Shea, Vice President, Diane Advance Secretary, Liz Rayner, Treasurer, Marion Baird, membership. E. Young, membership co-chair, E is a high school senior. Actually, this is not updated.
It's not because
This
she's
is
gonna be,
because she's
she'll be going to college, so, yeah.
And fundraising chair, Jen Romer, fundraising chair, Diana Valencius, advocacy and awareness co-chair, and Betty Bellino, advocacy and awareness co-chair. It's partially updated.
Right, okay.
Yeah. All right, so that was Friends, I don't, we didn't get anything from the town, right? Okay, so we don't have any updates from our town or Rensselaer County, did we get the,
We did not check.
so we do have our Upper Hudson Library, system liaison here. Tammy, do you have any?
I don't have like a formal report, but we had our little holiday breakfast for the staff last week. And there is a search committee.
People know that too.
Well, Tim is retiring in April, and Susan Keitel, who's our president, she has formed a search committee to review the applicants that will come in for Tim's position. So I don't think it's posted yet. I don't think the position is posted yet. I think they kind of tweaked up the announcement and then 100%.
Did anything come up with the Bethlehem Library? Their thing got shut down.
It was after our holiday, we just had a little breakfast, waiting for an hour. So, and then that was what was after, so, I was there and, but. We
We had
haven't heard
several
anything.
thousand people come out to vote.
Yeah,
I know,
Which
it
is a
was like
huge-
over 4,000 people.
It was crazy.
I read the article. I
My
got
my
blown
boss was
away.
texting me from line, he was in the stacks, like that far back, and this was at like 7 o'clock at night.
But it failed so substantially. Like it was like 3-1.
right, yeah. Oh. There's a lot of, yeah, it was a huge.
Was there?
There was a lot of conversation that was in support of the library, but not in support of that amount. They wanted to see them come back with a smaller amount. I mean, there's always the no's, but a lot of the conversation was pro-library.
Yes, definitely.
Just the stuff that was happening online. We're up there, so there's, lots of social media things that I'm connected with, groups and different things. Very positive conversation about the library. It wasn't negative about the library, it was negative about the amount, which was
It was a huge amount.
it would have been, yeah.
What would you, do you know what the per household amount boiled down to?
I just know for my parents, it would have increased their taxes more than $200.
That's
Yeah.
what I'd heard,
Yeah.
yeah.
Over 1 year or over
I think
multiple?
No, every year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was a significant
Commitment.
ask.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they were bonding for 38 million or
I
something.
thought it was like close to 40 million. So, yeah.
They've already spent $1 million on
Do you know what
arbitrary
the
trophies.
plan is now for them moving forward with the no vote?
I think they're gonna go back to the drawing board because they do have significant repairs and maintenance that needs to be done that was included in that. no matter what, they need to do that. And I think the community, based on what I was hearing, was saying, I mean, there was definitely a contingent that was positive, no matter what, pro-library. But a lot of the community was saying, do we need that much more than most libraries in the community?
I don't wanna compare apples and oranges, but like our own construction project does cost a fraction of that 37, like. But like, I'm not really sure what they were.
They wanted to put on a straight up addition, though, right?
Yeah, they were going to put up an addition, they had to tear down the building next door, they had asbestos abatement. I mean, there's a lot, the building needed new HVAC completely, they wanted to put in geothermal. There's a lot, there was a lot in that project.
Mhm.
And I think they were heavy into planning, sort of pre-pandemic, and I think it was voted down once, and they asked them to reduce the scope, and they did, but from the start to now, prices just skyrocketed, and they decided, well, I don't know the details of why they made the decision to move forward, but I think they believed, they felt strongly that that's what the library needed, the board did.
But if they reduce the scope, but now there's new pricing, it may have come out to be the same in the wash with less.
More.
Yeah, like paying more but getting less, just because of the way that costs are trending right now.
And I think that's why they put it out, now, saying, well, we just sooner the costs are gonna keep
True.
going up.
Right.
But, I think the community was saying now's not the time. What you need to do, not what you want to do. So, there is a tipping point.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, there is, in every community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Charlie, you got unfinished business, facilities.
Any additional questions for Jill? Anything else? Except more.
We might keep this on the agenda.
Yeah, it seems like it's
Yeah,
covered.
we got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that maybe.
I mean, if there's things that need to be
Planning on
brought to the committee, then I think
Yeah,
we'll put it on the
yeah.
agenda moving forward, and Charlie can report.
And is there a need for a board member to continue on the facilities work group?
I mean, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Under new business, before we do the motion, I wanted to take an opportunity just to commend and thank the library and you and the staff and the board for everything that's been done this year. It's been an amazing year. I mean, we had a lot of COVID hurdles and building issues, and getting the construction thing underway was, I've been on the board for over 5 years, and I don't know that I ever thought I'd see it happen. So it's really exciting, and I think everybody they've done a great job so far, juggling lots of things. The board or the library reorganization, people, jumping in, doing what they need to do and helping each other. So seemed like a very cohesive approach, and nobody from the outside would even know. That's kind of like the sense I have, so.
Staff, we have a lot to tell the staff, I think we have really committed
Yes,
staff members
yes, I think you
who
do.
are, always looking to just make things a little bit better,
Yeah,
which is great.
yeah,
Willing to talk about hard things, willing to say, oh, this needs tweak, we need to change this, oh, hey, why don't we word this different? I mean, just everything. I think we have a really impressive staff that are professionals, they know what they're out to do, and
mhm,
they're professional about implementing.
yeah,
And, they're not we're not going out to the community saying, we're gonna do this and then falling short. We're sort of doing more than we say we're gonna do to the community, which
And doing the
volumes for
right
our staff.
things, I
Yes.
think.
I mean, we made some hard choices that were not everything is popular with everybody, but I think it was the right long-term strategic
Yes.
plan for the library.
Yes.
And I also think we owe a lot to the board for, investing in the strategic plan consultant, because that's not something that we've done before, and it was money, but and then following through on what was recommended, I,
Yeah.
definitely thank the board for that. And Mary, you've been an incredible president.
Even though I forget to vote on stuff.
Yes, even though, I don't know if you guys have any idea how much time Mary spends. I mean, and it's not, not everybody puts their own touch on things, right? But Mary spends a lot of time making sure that everything is, we've got everything
Done perfectly, and she's communicating with all of you, and that she's understanding everything that's happening. So I appreciate that. We've been working together for a long time. You're not going away, but we've been
No,
working
I'm-
together for a long time,
Like a
since,
bad
she was leadership in the Friends. But you guys, it's been a great.
Yeah, this year has been very exciting for a lot of reasons, but I just really feel like the library just, moved forward in leaps and bounds, like all of a sudden. So it's
Well,
an exciting place to be.
This one over here, it's very helpful to have, an administrative assistant, especially a really good one. So
Yeah.
thank you for approving that position. I think it's really
Yeah.
helped.
Thank you.
As an admin assistant, I can relate to that. So.
Yeah.
I know
It's
how
the
it
right
works.
hand.
It's really a really important position. So, thank you.
All right, so I would also like to, the new business. We have the motion to approve the 2025 list of paid holidays. So I thought we could do that first. Everybody saw that, I said. Okay, Cammy will make the motion. You have a second, Charlie second. Okay, all in favor? That's 5 in favor, none opposed. So the motion passes. All right, I did want to remind everyone of our, I keep calling it, I'm calling it the trustee development meeting. It's training, it's what we tried to have last year, and then just everything kind of fell apart in January, people getting sick and the weather, and so at any rate, look forward to doing that this year, and certainly I will share with Charlie what the plans were for last year, and actually Charlie and I are meeting with Jill tomorrow. And I think it will be, I think, an invigorating session. It'll, if anybody has anything that they think we really need to, share as a group so that everybody's understanding the same thing and on the same page, like we did with that financial training, as much as we never got completely through everything. I just think that was so helpful for all of us to understand it at the same level. I mean, the treasurer gets past that point, but still, I think it was very useful. So those kinds of things. There'll be a session on Teams. You will know if Kayla has Teams at work, so she might be training all of us. Who knows? But if there's anything like a topic that anybody thinks, and Cammy, you sometimes have ideas about that stuff. When you think of something, that would be helpful for us to know by the end of December for sure. Okay, so we've reached our point of finishing up business. We're gonna be going.
Wait, does everybody know the date and time?
Oh, I thought you said.
It's on here, right here.
I thought it was on.
The 13th, well, it'll depend on what committee were recommended, or are we doing it in lieu of?
We're doing it in lieu of.
So we're doing it
There's
that
no
whole time,
committee
everybody
meetings.
together, there's no-
Yes.
okay.
There's no committee meetings that Monday, so, because we won't have committees yet. So yes, that will be in lieu of, committee meetings. So it's January 13th, 5:30 to 8. And I don't even know, like, after we speak tomorrow, we'll have a better sense of if it's gonna
Take
be
the whole
that
time or
long.
not.
Yeah. And Kayla, I know for you, Mondays are tough, so,
Yeah, I can
if you,
generally make for like 5, 6.
yeah, so whatever you can do, if, we'll communicate with you what the time is. Because it may be later, it may not be 5:30, so I'll make sure that I say aye. It's that person right there. You'll hear from Jenna for sure. She'll get the information to you. So you'll know. So, we are, like I said, we're finished with our business portion of tonight's meeting. So you and Jenna be able to head out. We're gonna go into executive session to discuss the performance review. Yeah, we're gonna do a motion. So can I have a motion to go into executive session? Amanda? Charlie, the second. Okay, all those in favor? I'm in favor, none opposed. Okay, we will go into executive session and we'll close out the public portion of the meeting at 8:17.